Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for being here, and thank you for giving me the pleasure to moderate this panel. Istvan, let me start with you. Being with Avon now for a couple of years, you've seen many disruptions in the supply chain. And if you look back at those disruptions throughout all those years, what do you envision as the new normal, if you will, reviewing or reflecting on all those disruptions, being it COVID, being ship that's stuck in the Suez Canal, being the inflation, the shortages? What's your perspective on that?
Morning, guys. Nice to meet you all. Honestly, when this whole disruption started, we thought, COVID is really, really serious. But then after 3 months of COVID, we got a serious cyber attack at our company. So we got a double hit. So we could not produce for 8 weeks. And it was serious because, March, you get COVID, you sort out yourself, and then in June, you just shut. And unfortunately, for 8 weeks, you can't do anything. So and then obviously more and more issues happened in the recent years. So for us, the key learnings were really how to approach these uncertainties, how to manage what you can't plan, and just get used to it. So for ourselves, the main learnings were really how to adopt in our planning processes, either short-term or mid-term, long-term, what we can influence and what we can't. And we can talk about it later, but for us, it was a big shock in 2020, and I think we were just trying to get out of it in a more robust way, either in the organization side or on the processes side, but also with technologies, because we were just in the middle of implementing O9 at that time. So everything was very condensed.
Interesting. And I mean, you mentioned a couple of examples. Obviously, you would call them black swans, whatever. You don't expect them. Looking forward, do you expect these big disruptions to continue to be like this? And do you think you're now better prepared? And as a follow-up to that, what do you see as the major risk looking ahead, those disruptions?
I don't think anybody is prepared. We try our best, risk assess and come up with solutions, but it's really difficult to say how well you are prepared. I would say the best is if you can focus what you can control and build your processes around it, the rest will happen anyway. So that's my view. I don't know, Gustavo, how you feel about it.
Well, I'd like to add something here because we faced a very challenging time in the last X number of years, but in the past we had some secretly managed challenge. And now we are more exposed to the challenge that we have to deal with and tackle. And it is time for supply chain leaders to really make some tough decisions on how to approach, because to the question of what is coming, I don't know what is coming, but I know it's not going to be easy. I know it's more challenges coming in the pipeline. And it's very obvious to see when you see the geopolitics dynamics globally. You will have some challenges on supply chain, depending on the industry you are in, of course. If you are a self-contained in one region type of industry, which is very few people do, then, okay, you have a situation of luxury that other people will not have. The world is composed of countries that develop materials and countries that transform materials. So we are forced to have international trading. And those international tradings are exposed to the geopolitical trends. And we supply chains need to know how to manage that, but also how to anticipate it and become a little bit more experts on managing what it could be the scenario that is coming and hit us. And that's what I love, the database planning, but the intelligence part of planning, because intelligence part of planning allows us to do dynamic planning, which is, I think, in the horizon. We need to be dynamic on this planning. How to automatically we adjust plans based on the trends and things that we see. We need to do a lot of pre-work in the planning process that we took for granted in the past. And so that pre-work needs to be intensified, in my opinion, for the future. A lot of pre-work. So let's not do planning activities, routine planning activities, let them happen. But let's work a lot on what could be if we don't do this or we do that. What could be if we used to talk about competitive moves. Now we need to move about more about the geopolitics move as well. So how do we combine those together in a supply chain strategy that makes sense for us is so critical and important.
Interesting. And building a little bit further on that, Gustavo, if you look ahead at the next wave of change, being it particularly in the consumer products industry, what is the next wave of transformation you expect to happen, whether it be on technology, whether it be on processes, on human? What's your view on that?
Oh, wow, this is a very interesting question. It's a little bit speculative, but at the same time, projecting what I see today, technology will play a bigger role, no doubt. Database planning processes are going to become more and more important and critical. We need to rely on that. So the quality of our data, the quality of the team doing planning for us, we need to be really top notch. Because what I see that the concept of planning becomes the concept of the quarterback of the team. It's the brain of the operation. It's not just the activities of how much of what we need to produce when, but it is more of what is the play that keep us winning out there. So moving from the activity to the play, the strategy and the play is very important and requires even more good reliance on technology, data-driven analysis, understanding of that, and leveraging it, because you can understand if you don't leverage. So the integrated business planning process will need to be discussions about that, and not necessarily about the number of the month, which we still do a lot of in the industry.
Interesting. And Istvan, to get your perspective on that, taking into account the lessons learned of some of the examples you just gave, what's your view on that?
So I agree with Gustavo. Data definitely, but it has to be linked with organization readiness. So you can dream big. I will leverage all these technologies, but are we really ready? So from our side, the learnings were really how good we are on managing our own data, what data we can really provide to these systems, because some data is existing only on spreadsheets and people in people's mind. So how to get this real data where decisions are taken from into the system, but also how much we can manage adoption. So these technologies are not easy to use. Everybody's used to run Excel and how to create overviews and summaries, but with the new technologies, you have to adapt. You have to adapt with the data as good as it is coming to the system, but also how the team is able to leverage it. So for us, the big learning was we have to first do step by step instead of we are running big. I agree. It is great to have a big integration and big implementations, but you have to really take these quick learnings and quick steps to get the team with you. Because otherwise it will be just a one-man show. We are running a nice tool and nobody is using it. So yeah, I don't know, Gustavo, what your view is, but I think the people and the organization part linked with data, it's really critical.
Very critical. And if you look at it, many times we fail. Historically, the industry has failed on technology implementations because we don't prepare people. It's not because the technology is too difficult. Everything is teachable, there are a few people may not be able to get into it, but for the most part, people are able to learn and do the work. But we don't prepare them for it, so we fail at onboarding the most critical part of the whole thing, which is not the technology; it is the people, which is what people make things happen. The technology itself will not make much for us if we don't have a means to get people on board liking it, wanting it, and driving it. And it's so important. Yes, I agree totally. Totally.
So data, technology, processes, people, it all goes hand in hand. It's
Yeah.
you cannot distinct one.
Yeah, you need to combine technology, systems, and people systems into it. Starting with people, you need to prepare them for what is coming. You need to make them comfortable with bringing the bad news or managing the situation, or creating scenarios like, okay, this is not going to happen, but if we do this and that, this could happen. That's a good planner. You're gonna hear that from your planning organization. You're not the genius that will create that, but they have the data. They can play the scenarios. They can, and if we really get into intelligent planning, then the dynamic dimension of planning will be in place. I That's my strong belief.
Interesting. And Gustavo, you've been in the space for quite a while now, being in different supply chain related positions. If you would reflect back on all those years, what would you consider as one of the biggest achievements you've realized throughout those years that you feel has made a significant impact and something that you or the team has been proud
Wow.
of?
I failed a few times doing a few things, which is actually fantastic because those failures are the ones that open your eyes to opportunities. And so if you didn't get fired because of failure, then you have a chance to really do a big impact in that organization. I did many years ago, at the same time, more or less, that '09 was starting. I was centralizing planning for Procter & Gamble. And we created a planning platform for the future, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. I did not consider outsourcing planning at all at that time. I didn't feel that there was anybody out there that could do it. It was a good decision at the point in time, but if I look backwards, this is exactly the area where you need a partner, a good partner to really walk through the capabilities that are required and bring expertise to play. And then you focus on things that are more relevant to the day-to-day of your operation. You focus more on the business model and how to deliver the business model through your supply chain. So I don't say it was a mistake, but because I think that gave us the right to now think about planning and other things in Procter & Gamble, which is a top-notch planning organization. But we lacked a platform of technology. We didn't have it, and we didn't have it for too many years. And so this is coming to fruition now because we left the centralization in place. So that was a good decision, but it was tough to not to go outside. And so that's one. I think that realizing how important technology is a critical aha of a career. Also, we supply chain leaders tend not to play the strategic role we are called to play in the enterprise. So many times we are just in meetings waiting to know how much we're going to sell so I can produce a plan for it and make it happen. And that is a downgrading of our value that we should not tolerate and accept. If anything, the pandemic and the crisis of the last 2-3 years is a great opportunity for us to take on and play that role. It's time for supply chain people to really play in a bigger scope. So that's the second big learning. How much of a strategic play we dare to do, because we do have the knowledge and the ability to do, and we are the ones called to do it, but we tend not to. So that's a very important aspect of it. Do you agree with that?
Honestly, on the planning side, we did link and combine the demand planning and the supply planning teams. We started in 2019. We finished in 2020, so now we have an integrated planning organization. They are still not fully centralized, but this is an end-to-end planning team in all the regions, which is great. I think outsourcing is definitely a question. It really depends why you would do it and what are the benefits to do it. So it's probably company by company. For us, I think COVID brought what to a lot of company experienced faster decisions. So our business model is quite complex. Our size of line is quite complex. So as soon COVID started, a big transformation project started in Avon, how to simplify the commercial process, how to simplify the size of line. And because we were in the middle of reorganizing planning came a critical enabler in these processes, as you can imagine. So for me, Sean, coming back to your question, what are the great things I can recall? Definitely this one, that I know it's not great that we had COVID, but it was driving changes which we never would have done so fast. And now it is happening, and now everybody's take it as business as usual. So yeah, that's from my side.
There is a risk of that move too fast in business as usual, because it's not usual. But we go too fast. Oh no, it's normalized. It's normalized. Come on, guys. So you don't read the newspapers or what? It's not normalized. It will not be normalized. And then before the pandemic, we were already in a tariff war globally. We were fighting the East and the West, and who charges more for protecting my own region. And we were making major mistakes. We might be in the horizon. We might have a supply chain to become the playground for a new war. Okay, we might be in that scenario. And so, what are we going to do about that? And I think it's critical that supply chains leaders start analyzing for that now, so we can really tackle it, because it's a reality.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So if you look at some interesting achievements there, with the knowledge today, and of course, we all know there will be occasions, there will be disruptions that we cannot predict. Otherwise, we would most likely be working on Wall Street. But what would be your focus moving forward? And let me start with Istvan now in reflecting on those achievements you just mentioned. If you now have to take it one step ahead, what would be your focus? Bringing technology, people, data all together.
Yeah, I think it's more just a continuation from our side what we started. So how to leverage all these capabilities we have, because usually you leverage 20% of these capabilities. How you can maximize it either in revenue generation or in free cash flow. So I think we are just scratching the surface. So I would not, recommend to jump something else. Let's just leverage what we have so far and maximize it as much as possible.
Good. I think I like that answer, because what you're saying basically is we need to continue working on capabilities.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not that we should never stop working capabilities, because that's what brings the foundation for whatever we're going to do. I will also add the perspective of understanding the business situation and then creating operating strategies that cope with that business situation in a dynamic way. So changing environment will happen. So we need to also change the operating strategy to accommodate those changes as much as we can. Of course, it's not going to be, hopefully we do, but I don't think we are going to be able to tackle every single unknown out there. But we can have a pre-worked business continuity plan that prevents us from, and that is based on the capabilities you're building into the system. So capability, number one. Then you need to have the right partners to do these type of things, internally and externally. So you need to work diligently on finding those partners that you feel like will really leverage what you're doing internally to cope with all of these things. I think that's critical also.
Very good. Before we go to the Q&A, one question to you both. If you were now jumping into a new position as Chief Technology or Chief Supply Chain Officer at a big consumer products company, what would be your number one recommendation, either to yourself or to the person that will take on that opportunity?
Oh, wow. Well, I don't know. It's a great question. Because every situation will be different, no? I think bringing the external into the organization it will be a critical part of the role for sure. So you need to really understand how they are, and depending on what company you work, if you are like me, spent 35 years in P&G, we are the experts of developing everything. We know everything, so we don't need to, go outside for anything, no? Critically enough, I would say the wake-up call is you need to go outside and bring in the outside. So those capabilities that are there, there's many more people developing those than the people we have internally developing those. There is not such a thing that we can internally do everything. So forget about that. The big P&Gs, the big Kimberly-Clark, all of us in the big corporations, we are not capable of doing everything, guys. We are not. So we really need to bring that standard world here. Second, I will create a vision immediately of what I want to do, what is fit for use for the business growth opportunities that we have, and based on that, create a capability master plan. So vision, strategy, capability master plan, and I will then drive that master plan like crazy. Like even if it doesn't make sense at a glance, I will be driving it. And that's the answer to keep your organization in shape for what is coming always, is that you work on capabilities even when you don't need them yet. So I ask the question in every role I had, did I develop today's results? If I can do check, I feel okay, good today. Did I develop tomorrow's capabilities? If I can check on those two things, I feel good about what I'm doing.
Great piece of advice. Istvan, any builds on that?
I think it's great. Yeah, I agree. I just wanted to say, because we are talking about data, so this digitalization process has to be fully mapped out and linked with the strategy that Gustavo described, because again, it could be disconnected and you could assume something that you can do this and that, but are we ready? Are we ready from data point of view as well? No other comments. Thank you.
Helpful, thank you. Looking at the audience, any questions or reflections upon this? What's your key takeaway or maybe piece of advice you would like to ask from these two gentlemen? Any volunteers? Bill?
Wow, change management is such a critical aspect of all of this. We need to really become experts on that. The first thing is to establish the need for that change. I fail trying to force organizations to do the new thing. You cannot force that. But you can prepare them with training and good leadership management. Then the change might be feasible. So be aware of those challenges is probably the number one advice, because then you can create strategies to go for. But everybody likes the coolest new car, everybody likes, and those cars are full of technology that the old car didn't have. I am in the old cars world. I still love the buttons and checking, and have very few things on my in front of me. Only 2 or 3 gadgets, and I understand what is going on. But everybody likes to have a new car, and in less than 2 weeks, people know how to manage the new car. People know the computers, everything like that. So people will learn and adapt to those. But they need to have the stimuli and the motivation to do that, and that's part that only the leaders can bring into the party.
He builds
Probably too superficial of an answer.
No, just to build on it, a different example. We did not even look outside. Even within our own company, we had very old systems. So in 19, we were thinking, so what's the first step to bring in new technology on top of this old, very historical systems which we have in the company? So we went for a control tower solution first. So you take the data from this old system. You don't need to worry immediately, what do I do with them? It's more just they are feeding the solution which could help you to step further in this digitalization. And it happens the same with the vendors. Obviously, they have their own solutions. You don't need to transform immediately everything. So as Gustavo said, pick the one where the burning need is, where the biggest benefit is, and then try to figure out a solution how to combine old with new. And then obviously have a roadmap to move forward. But yeah, I think it's a great question because everybody is sitting on historical systems.
We have to be very close to the transformation. Transformation doesn't change. It doesn't happen by declaring it, or not even by the money that we put behind it. It's really driven by the day-to-day pulse of the organization. And that's where leaders play a role, in my opinion.
Any further questions or reflections on that? Igor.
Okay. There will be an evolution, obviously. We always want, we complain that our people are too far from the key metrics of the business, growth, revenue, profitability, margin improvements, etc. And our people go too much into the details of the speed of a line, which is very important. I'm not going to say it's not important, but we do have the opportunity to get our people closer to those measures. So yes, I see an evolution. There will be always in-process measures. There will be always localized key metrics for the operation, but we do have the opportunity to get our people closer to what matters at the higher level of the organization and translating those into my activities. So I see the evolution going in that direction. And people more like, instead of talking to me about the efficiency of the line, people will talk to me about the revenue they got through the line. And then I will be happy about that. I will have a big smile. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's like, operations units. But what did we move? Did it arrive on time or not? So all this obviously will carry on. But with the digitalization, you will have access to data which gives the operators the knowledge. What happened with lost sales? What happens with marketing mix? So all this information you can translate into operational KPIs to help them to decide, so what's my action? How can I maximize service? Or how can I optimize cash? So all this, it's much easier if you have digitalization.
Yeah. I think the what-if analysis will be taught in the language of growth and not in the language of quantity. And or if the strategy is profitability, then we will talk in profitability terms, not in quantity again. And we all want to sell more, so quantity always will be important, but it needs to be in the frame of the business need. So if we are in the growth period, we are in the survival period, we are in the innovation period, we need to be dynamic enough to adjust that and talk the language. So we will not be able to stop the change on the KPIs as well. We need to go in that direction for sure.
Just one comment. I think exception management will be really, really different what is happening now. So this exception management will drive different behavior. So it helps you to focus on really the priorities which will help you to support the business KPI. So I think this could be another aspect.
Good.
I think we have time for one final question. George.
Oh. Well, it depends on the case, no? The situation and the different companies and the challenges we face. But I mean, you need to, if you are the transformation leader, let's say, you need to understand the needs of a company, for sure. But you also need to understand what is possible out there. You know, what is other people are achieving, or what how can you project what capabilities that are already being at play somewhere else, and create your own vision. I don't know how small steps could be, but you run the risk of being too small on steps. A company that is committed to transformation needs to be committed to the risk of a transformation. And I've been in situations where we talk the good talk, and then we have difficult time moving towards it. So there is an aspect of real commitment to the vision and the strategies that needs to be demonstrated by action, by the leadership team first, and then it permeates down to everybody, because when you are committed, this is going to happen. But the organization needs to feel that you're really committed to it. So the steps will be small enough for us to not put at risk too much, but big enough so we can really mark the pace of the transformation. And that balance act needs to be played by the transformation leader, maybe, or the leadership team. But I will not be hesitant to make a mistake. We need to make a mistake. We need to err doing things. And then be ready for our reaction as leaders when that mistake happens. If you unplug or you shy away from the transformation because of that, you destroy the whole thing in one error that might not have been significant. So we really need to play smart there. How do we react to the errors? Celebrate the mistake. Celebrate the learning out of it. Make a party, yeah. Pizza for everybody. You know, whatever, I don't know. But make sure that the learning out of the mistake is accentuated, understood. It's an opportunity for growth. Let's take it like that.
Thank you, gentlemen. We're at the bottom of the hour, so we're on time. Thank you very much for this great piece of advice to the audience. The gents will be available the rest of the day, so if you can grab them for a few questions, feel free to do that.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.